Emma needs this space more than you, Linda announced, gesturing proudly at what used to be my home office. The walls, once lined with books and notes from my years of writing, were now an unsettling shade of pink, cluttered with baby furniture and pastel decorations. The space where I'd spent countless hours cracking my novel had been erased in my absence. I barely heard her next words over the buzzing in my ears. She's having a baby after all. And you just sit here playing on your computer. I'm Alice Chin, and at 32, I never expected to return from a 3-day writer's retreat to find my office, my sanctuary, stripped away without my consent. My antique desk, the one that had belonged to my grandmother, was gone. My bookshelves, once meticulously organized, had been emptied to make room for stuffed animals and baby supplies. Where are my things? I asked, my voice steady despite the storm rising inside me. My manuscripts, my research notes, my grandmother's typewriter, everything that mattered had disappeared. Linda waved a dismissive hand. Oh, we put all that junk in storage. Emma needed somewhere to stay while her house is being renovated. And since you're never going to have children anyway. She trailed off, her meaning clear. I clenched my fists, then forced them to relax. Behind her, Emma leaned against the doorframe, one hand resting smugly on her belly. She'd always been Linda's favorite. Marrying her son had never been enough to change that. Did Tom know about this? I asked, referring to my husband. Oh, he agreed completely, Linda lied smoothly. Her left eye twitched, the tell I picked up over 5 years of strained civility. He knows family comes first. I pulled out my phone and dialed Tom, putting him on speaker. Hey honey, how was the retreat? His voice was warm, oblivious. Get a lot of writing done. Tom, I said calmly, did you know your mother and sister converted my office into a nursery while I was gone? Silence. Then, they did what? Linda's smile faltered. Now, Tom, you know Emma needs. Mom, Tom's voice turned sharp. What are you doing in our house? Your sister needed a place to stay, Linda started, but he cut her off. You had no right to touch Alice's things. Either of you. Where's her grandmother's desk? Emma scoffed, her voice thick with condescension. It's in storage, Tom, and really, Alice never uses it. She talks about writing, but let's be honest, nothing's ever come of it. I actually need this space. A strange calm settled over me, the kind that comes with absolute clarity. Without a word, I walked to our bedroom and opened my laptop. Linda and Emma followed, still trying to justify their actions. You're being selfish, Alice, Linda scolded. Emma is family. She's carrying your niece or nephew. Surely your little hobby can wait. I clicked on an unread email and turned the screen toward them. The subject line read, Offer of publication The Silent House. My little hobby, I echoed softly. You mean the novel that just got picked up by Riverside Publishing? The color drained from their faces. Riverside was one of the biggest publishing houses in the country. Emma's hand dropped from her belly as she read the email, which included details about the substantial advance I'd been offered. But you never said anything, Linda stammered. I don't share everything with people who don't support me. My voice was calm, measured. Now, I'm calling the police to report an unauthorized entry and removal of property from my home. You wouldn't dare, Linda gasped. We're family. I dialed 911, holding her gaze as the call connected. Yes, I'd like to report a break-in and removal of property from my home. The fallout was almost comical. Linda and Emma scrambled to justify themselves to the officers, who looked thoroughly unimpressed with their excuses. Tom arrived home, his face dark with anger as he surveyed the damage. Where's the storage unit? He demanded. Linda hesitated before handing over the key. She couldn't meet his eyes. As the officers took statements, I settled onto the couch, opening my laptop to respond to my publisher's email. From the kitchen, I could hear Linda oscillating between defending herself and berating Emma for not warning her about my attitude problem. Alice doesn't appreciate what she has, she was muttering. She's not even trying to give Tom children. She had no idea. This wasn't just about my office. It wasn't just about my writing. This was about years of being dismissed, diminished, and undermined. Years of veiled insults and blatant boundary violations. But I learned something important. The best revenge isn't served hot with anger or cold with calculation. The best revenge is served with perfect timing. Tom returned with my grandmother's desk and my boxes of research. As he helped the officers document everything, I made another call. Hi, Sarah. It's Alice. Remember that offer about featuring local authors in your bookstore? I'm ready to take you up on that, and I have the perfect story to tell. Linda's head snapped up, her expression twisting in horror as realization dawned. She cared about nothing more than her reputation in our small town. And soon everyone would know exactly what she'd done. Not through gossip, not through accusations, but through the power of a story. And I'd spent years perfecting this one. The next few days unfolded like an unwritten sequel I never intended to draft. Tom spent hours meticulously restoring my office, repainting the walls in their original sage green, carefully positioning my grandmother's mahogany desk back by the window, and returning each book and manuscript to its rightful place. Meanwhile, Linda and Emma had gone radio silent. Not that it stopped the family gossip mill from churning. Word spread quickly, and soon I overheard whispers at the local cafe. "Can you believe Alice called the police?" Mrs. Peterson murmured to a friend over her coffee. Linda was only trying to help Emma. I simply smiled into my own cup and let them talk. The police report had been filed, every missing item documented. My lawyer advised me to keep thorough records, not because I planned to press charges, but because sometimes the best defense was airtight evidence. Tom, however, was livid. "I can't believe they did this," he said, sitting in my restored office, his fingers drumming against my desk. "Mom's always been pushy, but this is another level." I watched him for a moment before responding. "Is it? Or is this just the first time you're seeing it for what it is?" His brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Silently, I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out a small notebook. Inside, I had documented every slight, every boundary crossed, every moment that had chipped away at my patience over the years. The time Linda accidentally spilled wine on my manuscript, the Christmas when Emma hijacked our anniversary dinner for her pregnancy announcement, the countless times they showed up uninvited, expecting me to drop everything. "This isn't just about an office, Tom. It's about respect." As he flipped through the pages, his expression darkened. "Why didn't you tell me?" I exhaled. "Would you have listened?" His silence was answer enough. The next morning, I received an email from my publisher, an invitation for a local book signing at Sarah's bookstore for The Silent House. My novel centered on navigating toxic family dynamics. I forwarded the email to Linda and Emma, not out of malice, but because I knew they'd hear about it anyway. It didn't take long for the fallout to begin. Emma's message came first. "You're really going to air our family's dirty laundry in public? How dare you?" Then Linda, "If you publish that book, you'll destroy this family. Is that what you want?" I replied with the same response to both. "The book was written and accepted before you decided to redecorate my office. But thank you for the inspiration for the sequel." Tom let out a low whistle as he read over my shoulder. "You're not actually writing about them, are you?" I smirked. "No, but they don't know that." The next day, Linda showed up at our doorstep, her usual arrogance noticeably absent. She clutched her designer handbag like a lifeline. "We need to talk." I stepped aside, watching as she hesitated before sitting down on the couch, a stark contrast to the woman who had so confidently commandeered my office. "I may have overstepped," she admitted, though the words seemed to taste bitter in her mouth. "May have." She winced. "Okay, I did. But you have to understand, Emma's going through a tough time. Her husband's never home, the renovations are a mess. And that justifies breaking into our house and taking my belongings." "We didn't break in," she argued weakly. "We used the spare key. The one for emergencies," I reminded her. "Not for decorating without permission." She twisted her hands in her lap. "I just thought," she sighed. "It doesn't matter. Emma's found another place to stay, with Jennifer." "Good." Linda's gaze flickered toward my office, her real concern evident. "And about your book?" I met her stare. "Yes. Is it really about family relationships?" I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "It's about consequences, Linda. About what happens when people take too much and assume too much." She paled slightly. "I see. Do you?" I rose, gesturing for her to follow me. "Come with me. I want to show you something." Reluctantly she did. In my office, I pulled out my grandmother's typewriter, the one they had so carelessly discarded. This belonged to my grandmother, She used it to write letters to my grandfather during the war. Letters about love, family, respect. Before she passed, she told me something I've never forgotten. Words have power. They can build bridges or burn them down. Choose wisely what you want to do. Linda's gaze flickered between me and the typewriter, her fingers gripping the strap of her handbag. Are you threatening us? No, I said evenly. I'm reminding you that actions have consequences. Words have power, and some stories need to be told. She left shortly after, her usual self-importance noticeably shaken. As I watched her car disappear down the street, Tom wrapped an arm around my waist. You know, he mused, I don't think I've ever seen my mother scared before. I leaned into him. She's not scared of me, Tom. She's scared of the truth. And maybe that's exactly what she needs. The story wasn't over yet. But for the first time since I'd returned home to find my space violated, I felt like I was finally the one holding the pen. Because Emma and Linda had tried to erase me from their narrative. A month after the office incident, I stood at the podium in Sarah's bookstore, scanning the crowd gathered for my book launch. The Silent House had already garnered glowing early reviews, praised for its layered exploration of family dynamics and the quiet toxicity that often hides in plain sight. In the front row, Tom sat with his usual steadfast support, his pride evident in the way he watched me. A few rows back, I spotted Linda and Emma. They hadn't been invited, but they were here nonetheless, sitting stiffly, their expressions a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. I adjusted the microphone and smiled. Thank you all for being here. This book is about finding your voice when others try to silence you. About holding your ground when others insist you don't belong. In the audience, Linda shifted uncomfortably. As I read a few selected passages, I watched their tension gradually ease. The protagonist, a young woman navigating her husband's possessive family, was wrapped in a gothic, supernatural world, making it clear this was fiction. Still, the themes lingered close enough to reality to leave an imprint. After the reading, during the signing, Emma approached hesitantly. Her pregnancy had progressed, and she looked uncomfortable in more ways than one. Alice, she said softly, I need to apologize. I set my pen down and met her gaze. What we did, what I let Mom convince me to do, it was wrong. I was so caught up in my own problems that I never stopped to think about how it affected you. And now? She placed a protective hand over her belly. Now I'm about to have a daughter, and I keep thinking about what I want to teach her about respect. About boundaries. I wouldn't want her to believe it's okay to take from others just because someone tells her she deserves it more. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was something. Later, after most of the crowd had trickled out, Linda approached. She stood before my table, gripping a copy of my book. Would you sign it? She asked. Her voice, for once, carried no authority, only something quieter, something real. I opened the book to the dedication page, where I had written, For my grandmother, who taught me that the strongest walls aren't built of stone, but of self-respect. Linda read the words, then lifted her gaze to meet mine. I spent so much time trying to fit you into the space I thought you should occupy, she admitted, that I never noticed the space you were creating for yourself. I signed her copy with a simple message. Sometimes, the best family stories are the ones we choose to write ourselves. In the following weeks, Emma moved into her friend Jennifer's guest house, and Linda stopped using her emergency key altogether. Tom installed a security system, not because we needed it now, but because boundaries, once broken, deserved to be reinforced. My office remained my sanctuary, its sage green walls and my grandmother's desk a quiet testament to the power of standing firm. The typewriter rested on its shelf, waiting for the next. One evening, as I sat at my desk, Tom brought me a cup of tea and handed me a small package that had arrived in the mail. Inside was a handmade baby blanket and a note from Emma. For your office, not as a nursery, but as a reminder that family can grow in unexpected ways when we give each other room to be ourselves. I draped the blanket over the reading chair in the corner, letting it settle into place, not as a symbol of loss or of what others had assumed I should want, but of something else entirely, of what can be rebuilt when respect replaces entitlement. Linda and Emma never tried to reclaim my space again.